Oh, yeah. Oh, that sounds pretty good. Huh, that's not bad. That's not bad. Try a little bit of a different soundtrack today. What's going on, everybody? It's Jay here with the Photo Live Coffee and Cigars weekly live stream here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in. It is March 23rd. Actually, the interesting thing is 3/23/23 if you do it in the way that we do it here in the United States. If you're in Europe, you do 23/3/23. I don't know what that means, but it just kind of sounds cool. I noticed when I was writing it down today. I was like, oh, that's an interesting date. So how y'all doing? I'm back here in Baltimore. It's a nice time. We're back in the other studio. If you were with us last Saturday, we were in the main studio with George Brightman coming down and Tony coming to join us. Always a good time with those guys. And we did a few cigars, really nice cigars as well, of what they were smoking. And then, this was not too bad either. But today we've got some stuff coming up. We've got our special cigar of the day, which is a Tatuaje PCA 2022 limited edition. What's going on, Mom? How are you, man? Good to see you as always. How's everything going up there in the New York area? And what are we doing tonight? We're going to be having that. Plus, I'm also going to drink a little bit of this cold brew from Camel Step. The same stuff we had back in December. Why am I drinking it? Because basically, this cigar, tonight's cigar, is actually one that I had smoked previously. I picked it up and smoked it, and I wasn't necessarily intending to do it on the show. But the reason we're doing it on the show today, well, I'll tell you that later, but it had a particular flavor profile that I thought, you know what, when I was going to use it for tonight's episode, I thought, let's use the cold brew from Camel Step because I think it'll have really nice pairing characteristics. So while the Tatuaje and the schedule, we have something else, but for the Tatuaje today, because if you were here on Saturday with us, we were talking about maybe going down to the event at Capitol Cigar in Bethesda because George has been working with those guys to put together their opening inventory and getting them all set up, as well as having Pete Johnson from Tatuaje come out to do a Q&A session. And I think they're really quite good, and decided that we talked to the guys, the owners there, and they were like, we're a little bit overwhelmed with what's going on here, so perhaps we could do a different update. That's no problem. We'll do that. So I thought, you know what? In honor of Pete Johnson being in the region, let's have one of his cigars. And so we've got the TAA here. We're going to do that, and that should be kind of nice. Yeah. So what are we doing today? So we've got, I guess we'll move right into the drink. So today's drink, I've been keeping on ice, is the Camel Step cold brew. And I featured this when I was back in Riyadh, and I really, really did enjoy it. I think it's really one of the best canned cold brews I've ever tasted. There's a little bit of dirt here at the cap. It's kind of been sitting around the roastery for the last month or so. Let me just wipe that off here. And I'm hoping that it has held up well over the last several weeks, and it'll give us good flavor. So what have you guys been doing this week? Anything interesting? I have been here working at the roastery. I can't believe it's Thursday. I was thinking of this just a few minutes ago at how fast the week has gone by. Like, I don't know if your week's gone by fast. My week seems to have gone by extremely fast. Let's have a look at it up this way. Ooh. Let me just pull this. Maybe I should pull this camera there. There we go. That's a little bit better. How's that? Okay, good. So we're going to open this up, this can. Now, unlike the Guinness, it's not doing any kind of fuzziness. Now, on camera here, it looks pretty dark, right? It looks nice and, actually, that looks pretty thin. Like, it looks pretty light. And I can already get some kind of fruity aromatics. Oh, yeah, really, really strong, like, berry tones on the nose. Whoa. I tell you what, man, these Camel Step guys, they buy some crazy, crazy good coffees, and they really take the time to roast them well. So I think I remember it having some body in when we were in Riyadh. This seems to have less body, but definitely more juiciness, more. Gosh, there's this kind of red berry-ish, kind of raspberry, maybe hibiscus-ish kind of tones to the flavor of the coffee. That's really interesting. Well, kind of like a sour cherry. No, that's really interesting. It feels different than what I remember from December. Different, not necessarily better or worse, just different, just a different expression of the coffee that is just very surprising. The body is very mild. It's not terribly heavy, kind of light on the body, really juicy, brighter, not overtly bright, but just brighter. Huh. Curious. It's very curious. I don't know what else there to say about that. We're only 6 minutes in. Like normally it takes me like a good 15 to 20 minutes to prepare the coffee because there's brewing to be done and a lot more talking, but not bad, not bad. So how was your week? What's been going on? Anything interesting? My week's been pretty good, pretty fast. Like I said, it's fast. What's happening? I don't know. There's so much has happened and I just can't recall what I've been doing. Just been kind of here at the roastery, like preparing stuff. Like I've got another trip coming up next month, about a month away on the 16th. So under about 3 weeks away now, and heading out to Vegas for sure. Now I got booked the tickets, flying there on the 16th Sunday to attend the National Association of Broadcasters show. So that's all about like cameras and lighting and all that kind of stuff for all sorts of production, whether it's broadcast production, internet production, or film production. They're all part of that there. And then after that, on the 19th, I'll be flying to Portland, Oregon, where we'll be having the show on the 20th of April. I guess that's about a month away. In Portland, Oregon, we're going to have the show there. I'm targeting a place called McMenamin's Theater, or there's a theater there. I forgot the name of the theater, but it's right next door. There's this open air bar that allows smoking, and I've smoked there in the past. Really nice setup. Hopefully it's not too cold. I mean, it'll be 5 o'clock by the time we do it in Portland, Oregon. 5 o'clock local time, but so here it'll be a lot later, or 8 o'clock, our normal time. So hopefully it won't be terribly cold there. And maybe we'll have some of our guests. Maybe Rusty will be able to join us because I know Rusty's going to be coming out to that show. I don't know when he's coming out, though. I haven't talked about that. And maybe another friend of mine, Miguel, who's also an enjoyable. He enjoys cigars, and he's also an amazing coffee expert. We can talk coffee and whatever we want to talk. Who knows? Well, you know what we do. You know what we do. So, okay, let's just move on to the cigar of the week. So our cigar today is, like I said, the Tatuaje PCA 2022 limited edition. And I picked this one up at a place called State Line Cigars when I went to New York City a couple weeks ago. They're this cigar, they're actually a tobacco place, one of those like place where you buy like shaggy tobacco for cigarettes. One of the it's all bulk and they have Lotto and it's one of those places. But whoever the guy his name is Jay, he runs the cigar program there. Learned about these guys maybe a year or two before pandemic set in, and heard about it. Drove up there, checked it out, walked into this humidor in this cigarette shop, and it's an amazing find. I was like, wow, there's a lot of really interesting cigars that you don't see in other shops around Maryland. The guy is, I don't know whether he's really into cigars or he's reading up on it. Whatever he's doing, he's got a nice selection. He's got interesting stuff. Like one of the things that I found there was this one. This Wonderlust from Romacraft. If you're not familiar with the Wonderlust, that could be because it is a cigar that is only for the European market. So mostly distributed in Germany. I normally get them from a place called Delay Cigar in Saarbrücken in southwestern Germany. And Sully Delay is the owner, and he's he's been he's got a Habanos license and he does a bunch of other stuff. And he gets a bunch of these Wonderlusts, and they're really quite enjoyable. If you haven't had them, they're really nice. We did review them in the past, and it performed as one of the highest ranking cigars in 2022. Yeah, the Wonderlust Petit Bellicoso ended up scoring in 2022 number 2 at 8750. So really nice cigars. The Petit Bellicoso, I think, is the one that's designated also as Fiorella, which is the best one of the lot. I've smoked all of the sizes of the Wonderlust, and it's definitely the best one. I think that one is. Oh, George is here. What's going on, George? How are you? Thanks for having the studio on sale. Of course, man. I'm glad you came out. That was really great to have you there. Enjoying Olmec, this lovely one. I know it's so nice. Like, I think we reached 72, 74 here, and the roastery doors were open. I was standing around in shorts and a t-shirt without a jacket. I mean, it was really lovely. I don't know how it is up in New York City today, Mom, but here in Baltimore, we started off a little bit of the cool side this morning, a bit of rain, and then by noon, it started to clear away, and mid-afternoon, just lovely, lovely, lovely weather. Like, so far, I would say this is the best weather we've had in Baltimore in 2023. And we've had a very mild, easy winter. Like, we've had no snow. Well, little dustings. I think we had dustings twice this winter, but we had a dusting last week, but really nothing. And I know I'm kind of pleased about that. My brother, on the other hand, he loves to snowboard, and he likes to go to local slopes, and they've had a struggle. They've struggled this year. Temperature hasn't been too bad for blowing snow, but no natural snow means that they've been struggling. So, yeah. Anyway, so this is the Tatuaje PCA. Is that right? This is the PCA. You know what? They don't really tag them. I do believe it's PCA. And I'm saying it's PCA because at one point I was thinking this is the TAA 2022. But I was looking online and I found this picture of a TAA and it was like, oh, the band is different. Mom says it was 60, but Clyde, okay, that's not too bad. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Good to see you, man. Good to see that you're there. Okay, so, and for you, it's also Ramadan, right? Isn't it Ramadan? Is that right? Ramadan is starting soon, right? I just saw something about that. I just saw some stuff on TikTok today. Oh, yeah, it started. Oh, it started yesterday, evening of Wednesday, March 22 to 23, the evening until the evening of Thursday. Oh, it's a whole month. Okay. 9 months of the Islamic calendar. I'm sorry, I don't really know this offhand. Observed by Muslims worldwide as a month of fasting, psalm, and prayer, reflection, and community. Oh, interesting. If I remember correctly, it is every day that you're fasting. Fasting from dawn to sunset is fard, and for all adult Muslims who are not acutely ill, the pre-dawn meal is referred to as suhoor. And the nightly feast that breaks the fast is called iftar. Although fatwas have been issued declaring that Muslims who live in regions where the midnight sun, that would be difficult. If you have like 23 hours of sun, you're in trouble. According to the Masrain, and also tobacco, also those cigars, okay, sexual relations and sinful behavior. Devoting themselves to salat and study of the Quran. Okay, good. I know that's a little bit difficult, the whole fasting part. And then here's the Eid al-Fitr. And one of the interesting things is that I happened to be in the Philippines one year at the end of Ramadan for Eid, and I didn't realize it at the time. This is before I started. I believe this is the years before I went to the Middle East. And I was arrived in Manila. It was Eid, and in Philippines, they actually celebrate that as a national holiday. So everything is closed. And I was like, what is going on here? And it was actually quite cool because some places, of course, were open. I mean, it's not like Saudi Arabia where everything I imagine is mandated to be closed. In the Philippines, everything is closed for the federal holiday, but some places are still open, so you can still go and do things. But the nice thing about that for me was, I can go across the city in 15 minutes, where it would normally take an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. So yeah, okay, get it. Oh, Tony's with us tonight. What's going on, Tony? Evening, LFD, Cameroon, cabinet number 1, and a Diet Cherry Pepsi. Excellent. Tony, I thought you and Brian were going to head down to the Capitol Cigar and go hang out with Pete a bit. No, that didn't happen? Well, glad to have you. Glad to have you if it didn't. We're having the Tatuaje PCA, not TAA, 2022. And it's cost me $15. I think what did it say here? Let me look it up here on the web. I think the MSRP is $14.50. This is a 5 3/8 by 52 Vitola with a bit of a box press, and it uses Ecuadorian Sumatran wrapper and dual binders and filter tobaccos from Nicaragua as well, and made, of course, by my father. And only 1,000 boxes of 20 cigars each are being produced. And they're also donating 50 cents per cigar to the PCA. So, that if it sells out of the 20,000 cigars, it should be right around $10,000, which I think helps. There's been a whole shift towards the PCA over the last several years from the TAA. Oh, no, the PCA is separate than the TAA. Never mind. It's nice to see, I think, there's been a shift to that other show, and some of these people were going to still supporting the PCA, which is good. Tony says, since you were going to be there, oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I wish we could have been there. I think that would have been a lot of fun. Had we not been doing the show, I might have gone there on my own anyway. But okay, let's get into this cigar now. We're going to open up the cigar, take out its wrapper. Oh, we're going to need our scoring sheet, of course. For today's ashtray, I've got my handy dandy tuna tin. This is a Korean tuna, dongwon. It's actually kind of pricey. I think it was $3.50 for the can. So quite a bit more expensive, pricier than Star-Kissed. One thing about Star-Kissed, though, I bought a stack of these. They had a $5 sale for 4 Star-Kissed in the blue can. And what I was really surprised is I've been eating them. Every time I open the Star-Kissed, you see a full loin almost. It's got serious chunk. And I was like, oh, that's not a bad thing. Normally you get all that kind of choppy tuna, but this one actually is pretty good. This is pretty good. This is pretty good as far as that dongwon. So why am I using this? Basically because when I was living in Hawaii, we would have corned beef tins from New Zealand, and they were kind of like this, fully printed on the can, not a label, right? And so we would open them up and then just use those as our ashtray. So I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that today. All right, here we go. Tatuaje. Says Capa Especial. Look at that. That's not bad looking. Ecuadorian wrapper. Oh, what's this blemish here? That's the foot. Oh, a little bit of clothes, huh? What do they call this again, guys? I can't remember what style. Shaggy foot. Shaggy foot, is that correct? The cap looks pretty good. Man, I can really smell the natural aromas, the natural processing aromas from that coffee here. It's really, really strong. All right, let's have a smell of this one. Ooh, sweetness. Really sweet and kind of baking, like a breadish. That's sweet and inviting. Here's the thing. So, like I said, I had this a couple weeks ago. Actually, yeah, because I was at Raoul's and I picked one up. And this thing smoked fantastic. It had tropical notes as I was smoking it. I was really, really enjoying it. And I'm kind of wondering if I'm setting myself up, today, because it's okay, will this cigar, I have a very favorable impression of this cigar from the last time. Will this cigar live up to it? I don't know. I don't know. It could be bad, but nice, kind of lightly spicy, sweet, kind of bready kind of aromatics on that. We're going to give it a cut. Nice supple cut there. Everything is nice and hydrated. Even though I've only kept it in the Boveda for the last 2 weeks or so. It's yeah, like a weekend, just over a week. So I got it last week Monday on the way back home from New York City. Cut's a little bit soft. I think it might be a little bit soft in that respect. All right, let's have a little bit of the cold draw. Wrapper has a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of spice. The actual draw itself is nice. It's got a nice slight resistance to it. Again, more of this warm bread, kind of like a brown bread, like an Irish brown bread kind of character on the tongue. Tony says that it should, based on the box of Lonsdales I smoked a couple years. Hopefully it'll be just as good. All right, so let's have a look at that score. Well, like I said, we got to do the wrapper. The wrapper, I would say, is probably right about there. And then our fragrance, quite nice, quite nice. Cold draw was good. I wouldn't say the intensity so high. I'm going to say it's very good. Very good. Oh, that's here. Okay. Actually, just a moment ago when I put it down, I was writing the scores down. There's a nice, like, spiciness on the tongue. Not a capsaicin spiciness, although there is that slight tingly burn that would be like a capsaicin, but it's not capsaicin. It's just a kind of mixed spice, right? That's interesting. I want to use some matches here. And ouch. Not fully lit. I forget that I can use the monitor. Whoa, a lot of spice starting off. Complex spice, cinnamon, bread spices. I think bread spices are an interesting thing. Good amount of resistance. All right, starting off with a positive. It's a little bit uneven, but that's mainly because of the way that I light things. I never get to light things really evenly. It's really quite distressing or something like that. I don't know. What are we doing here? I'm looking for some information here about this cigar to tell us. There's not too much on the internet about this particular cigar. So the Capa Especial, which is designated by this band, is a particular type of wrapper that is different than the broadleaf that the Connecticut broadleaf that the TAA release uses. But it's an Ecuador Sumatra with Nicaraguan biter and fillers. So not bad, not bad. Came out in November of 2022. No, like I said, in the first one that I smoked from Raul's batch had distinctive tropical notes like pineapple and that kind of brightness, but maybe it's too early to say, but it has not quite come out to that yet. Spice, complexity, very good. But that tropicality has not emerged. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. George, I presume that you're outside, right? If I remember you saying, yeah, you're on this one. Is the temperature holding or is it kind of diving now that it's nighttime? Because part of me was thinking I should just go outside and do the show. One of the problems is that when my bag was stolen in October, some of the things that were stolen in the bag were the lighting that I normally bring on travel. Little tiny like LED lights that are colored, and I have not replaced those yet. I've replaced everything else, but I have not replaced the LED lights. Which I probably need to do. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of spiciness to this. And George says, I am indeed, I'm in shorts and sandals. Temperatures are steady. Allergies are bad. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry to hear that. But at least you're outside enjoying the weather. Like I'm enjoying this. Like there's a great draw, nice flavor, complexity, spice. It's it's interesting. Like I want to smoke it more. I'm actually trying to hold back because I see that it's getting a little bit uneven, right? And I'm trying to hold back from not just going like to town on it. Let's see how it goes with the coffee. I don't know why my StreamYard has frozen. I feel bad regardless. At least I'm doing something I enjoy. Now, for those of you watching home, am I still moving? Like, can you actually see me talking and animated, or has it frozen? Because on my monitor, it looks like I've frozen with my cup in hand. What say you guys? This is very bizarre. Oh, frozen too. Okay, I'm gonna. Isn't that so lovely? Frozen while spitting. That's always the best way to do it. All right, let me see what we can do here. I'm gonna get out of the studio. It should still continue running, and then I'm gonna come back and see what we do. Oh, that's interesting. Now it has totally gone blank. Can you guys hear me all right still? Hmm. That's quite interesting. All right, I'm presuming you can hear me still because it looks like the audio is still transmitting and I'm still with you. Let me see about changing to a different video source. This is very bizarre. All right, here you yes, black screen. Okay, great. Great, 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 great. I wonder if it just this is strange. All right, so here we are. We're trying to see what we can do. Oh, there we go. All right. I don't know what happened. I actually I just bypassed the switcher, and I don't know what's going on with that. So we're going to go back to having one camera. Let me just make some changes in the system here to keep rolling. Okay, so I don't know what happened. That was very weird. But I think that it was on the end of the switcher, not of the transmission. So we're going to have one camera for the rest of this broadcast. And I'll work on seeing what's going on with that because that was very strange. Anyway, cigar's going along. We're doing all right. A little bit of unevenness there in the burn. I'm trying not to smoke it too hard so that we can even out. So today, well, technically it's tomorrow, but there are screenings today of the new John Wick 4. And I was actually thinking about going to see one of the screenings today, and I was like looking it up, and they had a couple seats left for like the 3:45 showing, and I was like, oh, 3:45, that's plenty of time. And then I looked at the listing, and it was like 2 hours 49 minutes. I was like, what? 2 hours 49 minutes? Plus, they have 20 minutes of like BS that happens before the show starts. So it starts at 3:45. You're going to run until 4:05, and then the 2 hours 50 minutes starts. So that'd be like 6, almost 7, maybe past 7. And I just thought, okay, that's a little bit too tight to make it for today. So we didn't do that. Then I'm supposed to be with my friends for her birthday tomorrow. So we're going to go out to lunch. But so I was thinking about tomorrow, but then, I'm sure everything's sold out. Plus Friday night gets all busy. And I guess I won't see John Wick until next week. But I am interested to see John Wick. I really have been enjoying the series. I did not see them when they first came out. I think I first saw John Wick Part 2, like on a plane. And then I think I saw, that was right when John Wick 3 was coming out. Then I saw John Wick 3, but I think I also saw that on a plane or somewhere else. And then I watched the first John Wick. And I was like, oh, that's what it's about. I don't know if you're John Wick people or not, but I certainly enjoy those things. Like that and the show Nobody, that movie with the Better Call Saul guy. That was quite good too. I do enjoy those kind of shows. I'm starting to get hints of like tropicality, but it's not serious tropicality. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. Like it's got the right flavors for me. Spice, that breadiness, really interesting and complex. And it's just continuing to like be interesting. Now, here's the strange thing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I have traditionally been a fan of Tatuaje ever since I first tried them in 2004. Always enjoyed them. However, of course, as you all know, these are made by Pepin Garcia and his factory. But every time I have the my father's cigars, I never enjoy them as much as I enjoy Tatuajes. There's something about the blending of peat and whatever they're doing that just makes a big difference from the rest of Pepin's stuff that I just find much more enjoyable. Like, this is really, really good. And the cigar, the burn is not bad. Look at that. A little bit grayer of an ash, but not bad. How's that Olmec coming along, George? And Tony, for you, you have that LFD Cameroon. That sounds like a good one. I've been thinking about bicycles lately. So when I was in New York City, I was staying with my friend Tony, who was on the show with us. And Tony's a pretty avid cyclist, right? He pretty much cycles everywhere in the city, to work, back home, to do anything. And he's the kind of guy that does road biking, and he's heading out into the world. Like, he's going across the bridge into New Jersey and doing all this hundreds of miles at a time. So he's got some pretty serious bicycles, carbon fiber, the finest of like drivetrains, and the what do you call it, the hydraulic disc brakes and all that kind of things. Tony says his seems to be broken as I'm into the second half. Oh, so you're burning, it's burning too fast, is that it? Now, I have a bike. It's this old Univega Land Rover or Range Rover. It's a great bike. It's a good bike. It's a good bike. I bought it when I was still living in Honolulu back in 1988. I've been using it, and like over the years, I've used it off and on. And anytime someone said to me, "Well, why don't you get a different bike?" I would say to myself, I always say that my answer has always been, "I will get a new bike when my capabilities have exceeded this bike." And obviously, I've never exceeded that bike. Like, it's still, I'm still not, I'll maybe hit 16 miles for like a few moments, but not like sustained. George says it was fantastic. The Olmec was fantastic. On to the Wiseman. It's a foundation evening for me. I think Olmec might be the best blend. Oh, I don't think I've tried this Olmec. I'm going to have to give it a taste then. Again, the foundation is the Wednesday. I was going to say with the Saka stuff, I was thinking, I know a lot of people love the Dunbarton Trust, and I smoked a lot of them. But again, it's one of those things where, like my father, I smoke it, and I just don't seem to click as well with that line as I do with other cigars. As much as I want to, But anyway, back to the bike. So I'm like, I got this bike, and a few years ago, I did some modifications to it. I changed the handlebars. I changed the handlebar stem to get a little bit higher. I put on clips, those off mountain bike style clips, so I can lock into the pedals. And actually, I really enjoy being clipped into the pedals because it just really, I like the feel. I like the way that it transfers the power. I like the way that it rides. I feel now that, when I'm not riding clipped, I feel a little bit out of control, a little bit too loose. But this bike is also over 30 years old. And so I was thinking maybe I should consider getting a different bike. So Tony, of course, is like, "Oh yeah, man, you should get a bike today." And so Tony, he's so into cycling that he works on Sundays at the bike shop that he's bought his bikes from. A place called Echelon, really like nice bikes, high end bikes, quality stuff. And I was like, "Well, how much are the bikes?" And of course, he's got bikes that are in multiples of thousands of dollars. And I was like, "Whoa, I don't want to spend that kind of money." And he's like, and so I would ask him, like, "What about progressive upgrades or progressive things?" He's like, "Well, you should buy this." I was like, "What? How much is that?" "Oh, it probably costs $1,200. $1,200. Holy crap!" And then we're talking about weights. Like he's got bikes that weigh like 17, 16 pounds. Like it's super light. You're like, "Oh, that is really light." And you pick it up, you're like, "Whoa, that's pretty impressive." Like, a lighter bike evidently will give you better performance, and better quality drivetrain will give you better performance and better feeling. And my thought is that, okay, am I not biking a lot because maybe I don't quite enjoy it, right? If I had a better quality bike, would I end up biking more? George says, "I enjoy Dumperton, but Saka says it's blended for his palate, so I suppose his palate dictates the blends." Yeah, I get that, and I totally do respect that fact, right? Like, I think that doing coffee, I tend to blend a lot of our coffee towards my taste, right? Because I want to enjoy it, like, and that's what I believe in. That's the flavors that I think are appropriate. So I get why Saka does that. I guess I just wish that my palate was more in tune with what he's doing. I think I tend to be more in tune with what Pete does, what Skip does, what Paul Gamirian does, sometimes with what Abe Flores does. Like, I feel like I'm sucking on this pretty hard now. Like, we're almost to the end of the first third. So, with the bike thing, so I was thinking, okay, if I get these progressive, maybe I do some. So, if I feel like maybe I don't ride as much as I would like to, because you know what, you know how it is. You want to do these things. You think, okay, this season I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out every day, and I'm going to do it. Then you do it. And like last year, I think I did it twice, all in April. And I was totally thinking in April, like, I'm going to go every day. I'm going to get out there, get fit, but I'm going to do it right. Man, I got the shorts. I got the shirt, not the shirt. I just read a regular t-shirt. Oh, this is burning nicely? Yes, it is burning nicely. But like, I got the shoes. I got shoes that feel comfortable. But I just don't ride, and maybe it's because I don't necessarily feel totally comfortable on the bike, so I don't really enjoy it. And someone else was telling me, "Well, you got to pick up the bike and put it in your truck, right?" Well, maybe you don't enjoy doing that. I was like, maybe it's a little bit heavy. And so I was talking with Tony about different things. I was like, "Well, if I bought this crank set, how much is that?" "Oh, this crank set's like $1,200. Like, $1,200 for a crank set. How about the wheels? They're $500. $500 for wheels. Because I was asking, like, how much will the wheels make a difference? And wheels will make a difference, evidently. But as I've been reading more over the last week or so, it's like, okay, well, it's one thing to get these bikes. But, the difference between someone like Tony and myself is that I'm much bigger than Tony, right? So I've got a lot more to propel through the air. I've got a lot more to support. And I was watching this guy on YouTube. He's a pretty tubby guy from the United Kingdom. And he was talking about his wheels and how he was breaking spokes. And I was like, "You're breaking spokes? I've never broken a spoke. Like, I'm not a skinny guy. I've never broken spokes, but I'm also riding a bike that's a chrome moly bike with like metal spokes and a lot of spokes on the tire, right on the wheel. Like, there's a lot of spokes. Like, you look at some of these like nice wheels, and they've got minimal spokes. So I think when you've got minimal spokes, of course, whatever weight that's on the spokes, that's on the wheel, is being absorbed by the spokes, and the less spokes, the more weight per spoke. So that's part of the equation. And then bikes are rated for certain weight parameters, right? Like if you get all carbon bike, I don't think that carbon bike is designed to carry a guy like me, no matter how light it is, no matter how strong carbon fibers, no matter how much weight the Dreamliner 787 can take. I don't think that Colnago bike is ready to take me for like serious rides. And I remember talking to some dude who was like telling me that his friend, years ago, had a carbon fiber bike, carbon fiber forks, and they're road racers, right? And he's going at it on the road, and for whatever reason, total catastrophic failure on the forks. Forks totally disintegrate on him, and basically he plowed right into the face first into the ground and like messed up his teeth, and he was all messed up. And I was like, I've been using steel or some kind of metal frames all my life. The last thing I want to do is have a fork fail on my tubby butt and like crash into anything. So, but I've also been thinking like everything is like, oh my God, everything's expensive, right? If you upgrade the bike, everything's expensive, but the bike itself still has the same ergonomics and the same base weight. So there's that. And then I was thinking, okay, well, if I buy another bike, right? But then the other side was like, okay, I was thinking about this. I get all of my other pursuits, coffee, cigars, whatever. Oh, Young Ma's here. What's going on, Young Ma? How are you, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the show, as always. Like this, for example, right? This is the Zycar MTX cutter. This is precisionally made, like stainless steel. I've been using it since 2014, so I've almost had this 10 years. 9 years now, and this thing still cuts very nicely. Not as sharp as it was when it was brand new, but still quite nice. The feel is still good. And it cuts the cap off. Now there's this old cross street tobacco El Cheapo single blade cutter. It feels coarse, it's tight, it's not pleasurable to use, right? This is not pleasurable. This is pleasurable. This, of course, costs multitudes more than this. This gets the job done. This gets the job done with joy. And I think that's kind of like what I've been thinking about. I'm going to tap this out because I'm getting nervous. And that's about our first third. So, or let's say with espresso machines or anything, we're buying nice quality stuff because it brings greater pleasure and the higher quality lasts longer. And so I was thinking about okay, with this bike thing, I was like, maybe I should be buying a nice bike, because maybe by buying a nice quality bike, it will give me greater enjoyment. So I'll want to do it more. That's my working theory at the moment. Okay, now it's a little bit out. So I'm going to have to do a little touch-up lighting along the perimeter of the rim. All right, that should be better. But meanwhile, let's have a moment to old school rollerblades. Yes, some rollerblades. When I did live in New York City back in 1991, when I was living at Washington Square West, I did have rollerblades. I can't rollerblade for anything. Like I'm terrible at rollerblades. That whole single line wheel where you have to have really tight ankles to hold yourself up. I never could do that. Roller skates, I used to roller skate when I was young every weekend. Loved it, had a great time. Fell in love with a beautiful girl named Amanda who had the feathered hair, dark feathered hair, and she had like the Jordache jeans with the comb in the back pocket and the ACDC tight ACDC black t-shirt. Man, my 13-year-old, my 12-year-old self was like totally in love with this girl. I was like totally in love with her. I was like, oh, Amanda, you're like the most amazing girl ever. Tony says he's got a nice quality bike hanging in my pole barn that I still never rode. Oh, you need to get that out. Amanda Blades. Oh, Amanda. I always wanted to ask her for a couple skate. I never did. I was always kind of a shy guy with the girls. When I was younger, I was like, oh. We talked. I just never asked her for couples. What's that song by April Wine? Just between you and me, baby, our love will always be. Man, that would have been amazing. Dim lights at the roller rink. April Wine. You're skating around, holding hands. Oh my gosh, man. Be amazing. Amazing. If only I could rewind time and go back to that. Know what I know now. I could totally rule the skate land. Then you saw the 16-year-old kids and you're like, oh, they're kind of old. They might get beat up. Good times. Good times. Oh, let's score. We got to score. Oh, I can't show you the score. I'm sorry, I can't show you the score. Now we're disconnected from the overhead cam. I'm going to say the flavor, very good. Is it very good plus, though? I'm gonna push it a little bit. I'll say it's 825. Body, I would say body is medium in intensity. 825 as well. Very good. Just a little bit more than very good. So there it is. 825, 825, and 8s. Tony says, broke my hand trying to learn the rollerblades to hang with a girl. Well, you know what? If you must break your hand while rollerblading, it should be for a girl. Otherwise, what are you doing? That's a waste of time. George says, biking like any physical activity comes with routine. I found I have to make the gym a part of my daily routine, same time. I know you. I totally hear you, man. I totally hear you. And that's the thing. I got it all set up here at the roaster. I got the bike ready. Every season, I'll tune it up and get it all ready. I got the clothes here. I'll even try to wash my socks overnight so that I can do it. But man, I don't know, man. I did it twice last year, and then I totally flaked. True, we all have to make sacrifices. Amanda was worth the sacrifice. I wonder what happened to her. Absolutely. Later in life, as I got older, we did or maybe it was later. It was later. Or maybe the same era. I went to a military school, all boys military school, Catholic military school. So I was pretty isolated from women. And then finally we got around the 7th grade. And since I'm Catholic, well, as you know, because I went to Catholic military school, we had confirmation class because, you get confirmed. You're confirmed in the faith, right? And so I went to confirmation class. It's probably 10 weeks or so, 8 weeks of classes. A Wednesday night, I think it was. And suddenly my world opened. I was like, oh my gosh, church is amazing. I hated going to church. I never wanted to go to church. I was like, church sucks. Right? I would sit there when I was really a young child. I would sit there beneath the pews, sitting on the kneeler, where that little thing where they keep all the books, right? They would have these caps that covered the screw holes. I would sit there and think I was I'm driving a tank. I'm shooting at the Father. Terrible, right? Terrible. But I finally went to confirmation class, and oh my God, it was like a revelation. It was like the book of Revelation. Suddenly there were girls at church, and girls that I knew and girls that I thought were pretty darn hot. I was like I know this one girl, Colette Lake was her name. She was like so pretty. She had this bushy, like kind of grayish, blondish hair. Like I was like, oh my God, Collie Lake, you are so incredible. You and Amanda are like my ideal wife material. So I was a good Catholic for confirmation class. Actually, Tony, I ended up meeting Mark Gardner, who was actually in my confirmation class. I met him in 7th grade before we all went to Loyola together. So smoking well. And Bowl at Your Own Risk is smoking an AKC. Oh, excellent, excellent. Glad to have you. Welcome to the show. How's it going out there? The only thing we did in our confirmation was learn to smoke cigarettes. Oh. I was too innocent for that. Actually, my father, when I was young, he smoked cigarettes all the time. Actually, I hated it. Hated the cigarette smoke. Actually, I did try cigarettes one day. Like one day I got a cigarette, and my dad smoked Salem menthols, right? And I remember I took a puff and I was like, oh, this is disgusting. I was like, get rid of that. Young Ma says the number of wife material is so many. There's been so many. So many back then. Yeah. I was just a young child in love. The problem when you get to high school is that the love and the relationships get more sophisticated, right? Like now there's telephones, and now there's going out, now there's hanging out, now there's longing. And now you're like, oh, you start to, then you've watched a lot of videos somehow and on like cassette tape, and you're like, oh, maybe I should be doing those kind of things. Not very Catholic, proper Catholic. But for us, we didn't have confirmation retreat. Like, I don't think we ever did a retreat. We only had class at the church Wednesday nights, like I think 1 or 2 hours. But I tell you, when you go to a Catholic military school and you have an hour or two with girls, that's the greatest time of your life. It's like, this is the best time of the week. I will finish my homework in time to go to confirmation. And actually, for me, I went 8 years of elementary and middle school at military school. And then I did 4 years at an all boys private school, prep school. So by the time I got to art school and I sat in class with this girl that I knew, I was like, she looked at me and she was like, what's wrong with you? And I said to her, you know what? I'm a little bit freaked out. She's like, why? She's like, I've never been in class with girls until now. Now that's not totally true. I kindergarten was co-ed, but for the rest of my time, there was no co-ed at all. So I was like, it's kind of freaky to be in class with you. Tony says, Young Mutt wasn't for me, so I faked it and smoked them like cigars. No, as you should. Is that Christ? It certainly looks like it. Yeah, then one time, many years after I'd started smoking cigars, some of my friends, they smoked cigarettes. So I was hanging out with them one day, and I kind of had that. One time I had this flavor, I had this taste for tobacco. Like I wanted to have a cigar, like the taste of the cigar. So I said to my friend, hey man, can I bum a cigarette off of you? And he gave me one, and I lit it up, and I took a puff. And I did it like we do for cigars, like you don't inhale it, but I remember tasting it. And it's really interesting to me because, like, when you smoke only cigars, we're tasting all the natural tobacco, and it's very natural, it's very clean. But this cigarette, whatever a cigarette was, I remember the moment that that smoke touched my palate, I could feel a coating of the chemicals that they add to the tobacco. I guess that's what gives it really the addictive properties. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, I took like maybe 2 puffs and I was like, oh my gosh, man, that was kind of nasty for me. I was like, oh gosh, I can't take that. So I just kind of put it out. Thank my friend. Of course, I felt a little bit bad because, when you give friends cigars and they only smoke part of it and they put it out, you're like, what are you doing, dude? I've never had a desire to even taste cigarettes after that point. I was like, oh, unfortunately, I really do taste that chemicals that are on the tobacco. This is smoking well. Like I said before, like the cigar I had before had a really tropicality to it. This cigar does not have that same tropicality. It's got a little bit, maybe, but it's still very complex. It's still very pleasing. The spiciness that was really prevalent at the very beginning of the cigar has dissipated. It's just stayed complex. It stayed interesting. It's still very interesting, very enjoyable. So back to the bike. I don't know. The bike thing, I don't know. I'm still trying to decide what to do. Like I think it's a waste to like not use mine. That's part of my psychosis. Like, oh, I got this bike, I should be using it. I just gotta go ride more. But one thing I've been figuring out, or as I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about cycling this past week, trying to understand more of what they call a gravel bike, right? Before there were mountain bikes, before there was BMX, before that there was Schwinn, and then there was BMX, and then there was mountain bike, and then what I bought was a variation of a mountain bike called a city bike, so less aggressive, right? And less for those kind of crazy. Like my brother, he does the downhill stuff with the whole articulation and suspension on both ends, and he's doing all this. Or at least when he was living in California, he was doing all this crazy downhill stuff, and I was like, dude, you're just crazy. I don't want to crash. What I don't want to do is crash. I've never wanted to crash. When I was in high school, I had a road bike. But in college, I got this Univega, and I've had this ever since. And Boil at Your Own Risk is asking, Boxworthy? Yeah, I would say yes, so. I would definitely say so. Right now, as it is, it's very good. Very, very good. Boyle, I'm curious to know what is on your avatar? Is that it looks to me like two pieces of 2x6s next to each other. One is like stained kind of gray, dark gray. What is that? I'm curious. Oh, it is. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Well, it's good to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. Do you smoke much Tatuajes, Boyle? Or are you more of a fan of other lines? This one is pretty good. I knocked it out again because we must be getting through the second third. And I think I'm going through this pretty fast. It's already 9:04. I'm going to take the bands off, as you can see already. I'm thinking about shows, and I was just thinking, like, have you guys seen that television series with, I think it's with Steve Martin and Martin Short? Is that right? The one with Selena Gomez? I haven't seen it yet. I've been wanting to go and check it out. It looks pretty interesting. Oh, floor samples. Nice. Okay. And he enjoys Tats Weekly, but runs the spectrum. Ah, nice. Excellent. Excellent. My favorite Tatuaje has traditionally been the Cojono 2003, which I think was his first or one of his very first cigars. I think it was his second cigar, maybe. But that was the first cigar that was introduced to me from Tatuaje by my friend Marvin Chang out in Hawaii. And I've always found that cigar to be quite enjoyable, even through the years. One of the interesting things, though, is that I don't really find that cigar very much. Like you'll see them every once in a while. You'll see a lot of other Cojono sizes in years, but the 2003 you don't really see too often. What else have I liked? I had a box of Escasos N that Pete suggested I try one year, and that was really good. Corona size cigars that were very enjoyable. The TAA series has traditionally been cigars that I've enjoyed. And I don't know if you're a member of the Saints and Sinners Club, but this past year, the 2022 box was quite good. I thought a lot of strength in those. A lot more. I mean, when I mean by a lot of strength, those like Tatuajes are typically on the stronger end of the spectrum, but this is I thought the strength of this last Saints and Sinners box was moving into the realm of what do you call it? Aroma craft strength levels. Really enjoy the 2003 Petite Robo Loki. Oh, I have not. I've heard of this. I have not tried that one. I don't think I've tried that one. All right, I'm going to say we're going to go to the second, third. Or is that too early? Maybe that's too early. Let's have a look at the. So this is now just under 3 inches. This was a 5 3/8, so 5.5 inch cigar. So a little bit longer. Oh, Brian's here. What's going on, Brian? Steve, you out there? Steve has not checked in yet. How are you, Brian? This is not like if you're just joining us, this cigar, like I was telling you before, that I thought it really tropical. The tropicality on this particular one is lighter than the last one that I had. It doesn't have the same tropicality as the previous PCA 2022 that I had that from Raul's collection. This is still very good, but without that heavy tropicality. It has a little bit, but not a lot. I don't know if you saw this on the main channel, but yesterday I did a little live stream about a movie that's come out called Coffee Wars. And I was like, what is that? So it's actually a movie that was one of my friends, Chuck Jones, who owns Jones Coffee Roasters in Pasadena, California, was involved with somehow. Evidently, his friend is the filmmaker, and he helped the guy with some of the technical details, which I thought were a little bit antiquated. But not as a knock on Chuck, but Chuck hasn't really been involved in the judging of the competitions for quite a few years. So I think a lot of that is based on his time, and a lot of the stuff that's happening in the movie doesn't seem to reflect what's modern in competitions. But it seems interesting. It's available on YouTube. You could buy it for $9.99 for standard definition, or you get the HD version for $13. I'm planning on getting it so I can see the movie. But the basic premise is that this girl in London has a coffee shop that is one of those anti-animal product kind of coffee shops. So no dairy milks, plant-based everything. And her business is failing. So she decides that she wants to get into the barista championships. And somehow that's going to help her find financial success for her business, which is pretty much the antithesis of everything that happens. Like if you run a very small coffee shop and you're an independent operator, and then you're going to what do you call it? You're going to utilize the competitions to gain more revenue. In order to campaign, it really does cost quite a bit of money to campaign successfully. And evidently, she makes it from the regionals to the nationals to the world champions. At least they start off with the regionals in the trailer, and then they show her in the worlds. And in order to get there, you have to go to the regionals, and then you do the national, and then you get to the worlds. And to do that is quite an endeavor. So I don't know if it's really worth going deeper into the red to try to win. But I'm sure in the movie she's the star, so she's going to win. So we'll see what happens. Brian says, good podcast. Seems like a potential income stream for you. Giving mooch and picture advice on coffee and well, that would be nice. I need to get my brand out there more to the guys in the movie business. And hopefully this movie will help to spur greater interest. Like, there's a couple movies coming out about the chef world that are coming out this year. We've seen greater increase in chef style movies. It'd be nice to see more of that for the coffee, for the barista style. Oh, Brian, so you were talking last week when we were talking about Picard. I think it was Picard. Oh, Mandalorian. And so last week you were asking about Mandalorian. You know, I until this past week, I didn't realize what day Mandalorian was on. I thought Mandalorian came out on Thursdays or Fridays. Evidently, it comes out on Wednesdays. So it came out last night. I did not see last night's episode. So when you were asking me last week about what's going on with Mandalorian, I had not seen that episode. So I didn't really understand what you were talking about. But I did watch that last week episode. So, yeah, just to clarify, so the Mandalorian is happening after Empire Strikes, Revenge of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi. So after the fall of the Empire, the rebellion, which is now the New Republic, has taken over and is trying to build, right? And I think that this scientist that's in Mandalorian, the one that got busted, I'm guessing, this is totally now hypothesizing, and it's hypothesizing without seeing this week's episode. I'm hypothesizing that these are the people that will eventually lead to the formation of the First Order, which is the power that becomes by the time the last trilogy starts, right? When Rey comes into the scene, the First Order is already at power. So somewhere in these 30 years, the First Order rises out of the New Republic. Somewhere like that. Like, also, if we remember I think it was in Boba Fett. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Totally different. I was going to say that there's that dude that's working that's working at that desk, but he was from Andor, and that was before the original. So that is like 30 years prior. So forget that. No. I don't know. Oh, Bad Batch 2. Okay, so Bad Batch has started again. I didn't know that. I will have to look at that. I saw the first series of Bad Batch. Really enjoyed that. So I'll be checking that out as well. That sounds pretty good. Speaking of animation, like in the Star Trek world, there's that Lower Decks, right? And Lower Decks, if you're not familiar, is an animated series within the Star Trek world. And it's about these people that are on a secondary class starship. So it's not like the Enterprise, not the big capital ships. It's just kind of like one of the run-of-the-mill fleet ships. And it's about the people that work below the decks, right? The people that are like in the lower ranks and what their mundaneness is like. But evidently there's going to be a live action tie-in next season with Strange New Worlds. So Captain Pike and the Enterprise will somehow interface with the Cerritos and their crew, and it will become all live action. So you'll see the Cerritos, the Lower Decks crew, in live action. So that should be kind of interesting, I think. Brian says, I don't know if I start again. I've never watched it. I'm binging all the previous. Okay. I'm not sure where we are with the Bad Batch. That's a good question. I'll have to look that up here. Let's see. Add batch. Season 2. Oh, there's a season 2. Let's see here. Oh, I have not seen season 2 then. When did season 2 come out? Oh, it just started. Okay, January 4th, 2023. Okay. I've not seen season 2. I have to catch up on that. Looks like... Oh, so season 2 is ongoing. Okay, so there's still 2 more episodes. All right. Cool. I'm going to have to start watching that now. Put that on the schedule. What's going on, Rusty? He's here. Late tables at work, and after some crazy shot happening. Crazy shit. Not somebody got shot, right? And Brian says he's still in season 1. Okay. Season 1's good. I like season 1 a lot. Oh, that's crazy. Late tables at work. That's always like the one. It's like you're like ready to close, and then guests come in. You're like, oh, all right, let's take care of these guys. That's all right. We're still here. I was thinking about you, Rusty, today because I was thinking of you and your wife, Amy, and I got your message about this weekend. This week, I think it's this weekend. You said right on the text. So I'm sorry I didn't respond to that, but so if you guys are interested, I think it's Sunday, this coming Sunday. Rusty's wife, Amy, is going to be in town with the Maryland Opera, and they're going to be doing a show. Let me look it up here. Oh, wow. 4 kids arrested today at school, 2 for drugs and 2 for wild phone. Were any of these your students? That's terrible. All right, let's see. Is that this one? March 26th? There's Amy. So she's going to be in town this weekend. Giuseppe Verdi from Don Carlo e Trovatore. Carmen. Oh, nice. La Juve. Pagliacci. Manon Lescaut. La Fanciulla del Vest. Oh, all right. Oh, this is going to be a long show. All right. With a little bit more modern kind of American theater, Showboat, My Fair Lady, Fiddler. Who was it? Oh, we should tell Scott about this. As Fiddler, he enjoys Fiddler. Nessun Dorma. Oh, good Lord, dude. And Visdarte. Oh, dude. All right. I'm definitely going to be there. None of those were yours. Okay, good. Understood. We'll miss you. All right, so let's see here. How about tickets? Let's go look for tickets. Beth L Congregation. Tickets are $25. All right, cool. I'm going to get it. So, like you're saying, do a show tunes. I was thinking about this today. Today I spent a lot of last night and today listening to music for the video that I'm working on for this coming week. And it's mostly Hawaiian music because it's one of the videos from Hawaii. So for the Hawaii videos, I've been looking for Hawaiian music, and Hawaiian music is not represented at all in the audio libraries that I use. So I'm actually using real actual releases of Hawaiian music, which could, on a copyright level, be problematic. But I'm going to take that chance because, I want to give it the proper respect. Bring a cowbell. Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. And I don't know if you're familiar with an artist by the name of Amy Hanai'ali'i. And Amy is one of these artists in Hawaii that I think is really wonderful, right? She was the musical partner and also I think life partner of a guy named Willie K. Willie Kaili'i, and who had a lot of fame as well in Hawaiian music. Unfortunately, Willie K passed away a few years ago. But Amy, she's got a couple albums out and wonderful. I think she's got a wonderful, very strong, powerful voice. And she does this one song called Kaulana something Waialua. It's about a place on Molokai. I think it's a beautiful song. And then she does this other one called Hanai'ali'i La'ea. Again, powerful song, powerful singer. And as I was listening, I was thinking, I wonder if your Amy, would do something like that, would sing those kind of songs. Like I think she would be amazing at those tunes, like amazing, like it'd be amazing. That's what I was thinking today. That was just a thought. All right, we'll do. I'll send you some links too for the music itself. So the cigar is rolling well. Let's go to I would say now we're definitely past the second third. So let's give it a review. The body has remained the same, so I'm still going to say that's 825. Flavor, good great complexity, still very good. 825. I think qualitatively, it's very static. I mean, it's very consistent. So that's really a positive. It's still very complex. It's still very interesting. Like I said, it doesn't have the tropicality of the one that I had previously, but still quite enjoyable. Like I feel very enthusiastic about this cigar. Now, based on the grading that we've done on other cigars and the scores that I've given so far, I don't think it'll match some of the highest scores for this year, but I still think this is fantastic. Let's go back to our coffee. The cold brew from Camel Step in Saudi Arabia. Light, juicy, like fruity, but kind of a red berryish kind of fruit. Kind of notes of hibiscus. Still really kind of enjoyable. Now, where it's different than other coffees, and I think different than how it was in December, it doesn't have quite the body of other coffees. Like this is a very light-bodied cigar. It doesn't have any chocolate notes to it. I thought I remember the glass that we had back in Saudi had more it had the same notes, but I think also a little more chocolate, a little bit more body. So maybe that's kind of changed over the last couple months. Tony's asking, so was the tropicality the anomaly? I can't say for sure. Maybe it's the storage of the cigars. I mean, this is only the second cigar that I've had, and they are from two different sources. The first one was, of course, from Raul at Tobacco Leaf in Jessup, and then this one comes from State Line in Delaware. I don't know. I would have to try more of these to really get a better feel whether one or the other was the anomaly. I'm not disappointed by this. I'm still enjoying it quite a lot. It's just a different experience this time. Like still, I'm still enjoying it. Like I would definitely buy it. Like if we were to stop now and ask, would I buy it again? Yes, absolutely. And like Boyle asked, is this a box-worthy purchase? I think so. Like this is good enough, and the other one was good enough so that I would be willing to buy another one to see how it performs. And who knows? I have to do a luncheon down tomorrow afternoon in Millersville, so maybe I'll swing by Raul's on the way back and try another one. So for the quality that I've had for the last one and even this one, at $15, it's quite enjoyable. Like, as you know, for me, past 13 always brings a question and a pause. But so far, all right. I do kind of wish we were able to go down to Capitol today to the Pete event, the Tatuaje event, so that we could see what stuff they brought in for that show. That would have been interesting to check out. I think I need to slow it down because it's getting a little bit hot now. I think I'm pulling on a little bit fast. And Tony says, that's why I bought the box. So did you buy a box of these or did you buy the box of the Lanceros you mentioned earlier? Oh, the pork tenderloin tuxla. Oh, nice, nice. I don't think I've tried the pork tenderloin. I had a pork tenderloin several years ago that came in the foil pack, but I've not had it with the Mexican tuxla. That sounds like a good one. I've had the T110 with the tuxla, but I've not had anything beyond that. I don't believe. Maybe the MC2, what was that? The Mexican 2 one, maybe that had the tuxla wrapper? I don't recall. Oh, the Lonsdales. Okay, yeah, the Lonsdales. But the box press, the light box press, like this is you can see it looks more round now. It definitely had more of a boxy press when we started. I guess it's kind of puffed since we started, but the draw's been pretty good. I think now that it's kind of puffing, the draw is a little bit slightly tighter. Let me rest. Let me slow down on this so that we can. I think there's a little bit of heat building as well as, and that heat kind of masks some of the nuances of the cigar. And Tony says he also had the Tuxla Corona Gordo. God, you've had like all the Tuxlas. George, how's that Wiseman working out for you? I don't know if you guys are following that Star Trek Picard. That's been pretty good so far. About halfway through the season now. I think we're halfway through Picard and Mandalorian, or with Mandalorian coming out with yesterday. We're just getting on the other side of that. On Monday, I sat down and did my marathon of video of TV shows. Did the Picard and the Mandalorian as well as the Blacklist and Magnum. All of which are shows that I really enjoy. So I always enjoy the episodes no matter how they are. They say though that this will be the last season of the Blacklist. So I'm wondering now, like, how will they end this series? It's season 10. So, it kind of makes you wonder, will Red Reddington survive the series, or will they kill him off at the end? Will he want to do a Harrison Ford and have him killed? And speaking of Harrison getting killed, like, I wonder, like, will he kill off Indiana Jones in the fifth movie this year? No spoilers. All right. No spoilers for any of the shows, or is there a particular one you're watching? The spoiler is that he dies. Whatever show it is that we're talking about, that guy dies. Very sad. Very sad. The Bad Batch, they all die. Mandalorian, they all die. Oh, Blacklist. Okay, gotcha. Blacklist. Actually, what's funny? I was at my friend's birthday party a while back, maybe a year ago. It was almost a year ago. Oh, no, maybe it was September. I think it was September. And one of our other friends, guy that I'm not really friends with, but my friend is friends with, is there, and I kind of know him from the neighborhood. That he's been living in New York for the last several years, and he was like, "Oh yes, I've been acting." I was like, "What have you been doing?" He's like, "I do the I was on the blacklist." I was like, "What? You're on the blacklist? What is that all about, man?" He's like, "Turns out that he was one of the bodyguards of Elizabeth in season like 8 or 9. He gets killed eventually in like season 9. He gets killed, but he was on the show, recurring character." I was like, "Oh, that's kind of awesome, man." I was like, "That's one of my favorite shows." I was like, "That'd be dope. That would be dope." Whenever I have a show that I enjoy, I would love to see them shoot it or like be involved or at least visit. Like when Battlestar Galactica was still shooting in Vancouver, I had a trip to Seattle. So I called up my union and I spoke to my business agent. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be in Vancouver. Could you call the BA of the local in Vancouver and see if I can do a set visit?" And he was like, "Yeah, no problem. I'm going to call him up." So we called him up. Thought we had it arranged. But the one day that I did have off that I could go to set, I called up and they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. We have a closed set today. So unfortunately, we can't bring on anyone to watch." And I was like, "Oh, man." I was so disappointed. I was like, "Oh, man, I would love to have been on the Battlestar Galactica." Edward James Olmos and what's his name? Colonel Ty. Actually, I met Colonel Ty a few years later in 2012. He came to Shore Leave that was here in Baltimore. And I got to meet him. We were hanging out for like an hour, kind of talking. And I was like, "Dude, you're like very cool, very relaxed." And I always wanted to meet him because I wanted to tell him, I said, "Hey, man, I thought you were the perfect foil to Edward James Olmos. Like you were," I said to him, "Dude, you were amazing." Like there was I remember this one scene in one of the episodes where Adama says something and the way Colonel Ty reacts and he just looks at him a certain way. And I was like, "That's awesome, dude." I was like, "That's the exact reaction you should have." And I was like, "You were like perfectly suited. You're perfectly matched with Edward James Olmos." Michael, gosh, I can't remember his last name now. Unfortunately, he had some kind of accident. Something happened to him, and he's been kind of debilitated for the last like 5, 6 years. But truly a great actor, great actor. Of course, in Mandalorian, there's Katie Sackhoff playing Bo-Katan. And the funny thing about like Katie Sackhoff is that she kind of has similar characteristics of Bo-Katan to Starbucks. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but some of her like reactions are kind of similar. It's like, oh. But I do enjoy the Blacklist. Like James Spader. Like I remember when he was in like 16 Candles, you just hated James Spader. You're like, "That guy, I hate that guy. He's the worst." But over the years now, especially when he became Red Reddington, it's like, oh yeah, you really kind of enjoyed his character acting. Like when he was in The Secretary with Maggie Gyllenhaal, and then now he's moved on to this Blacklist. Like as Raymond Reddington, I really enjoy him in that role. So, Mom, I'm curious, since it's Ramadan, and I'm presuming that you're practicing the fasting. How difficult is that for you? Like from sun up to sundown, there's no eating, there's no drinking. How difficult is that? I'm curious. Like I know billions of people are doing it, so it's very possible. But I'm just wondering, like, do you find a lot of difficulty throughout the day, or how do you prepare yourself for the day before sunrise? And then by the sunset, are you just like so ravaged that you're so like, so hungry that you just ravage everything around you? That's how I feel like I would be. I was like, oh my gosh, man. Like sometimes I won't eat I won't eat my first meal of the day until 2 p.m. Maybe I got up at 6 or 7 that day. So, and that's a pretty long time. I'm not totally ravenous. I'm not ravenous by that point, but I am kind of hungry. I'm like, okay, it's 2 o'clock. I should eat something. Oh, so a little bit of disappointment this week. Like, Sunday, Monday, we heard all this talk, about Trump getting arrested. Even Trump himself was like, I'm going to be arrested Tuesday. Like, oh, really? I didn't really believe he's going to be arrested. Like, that guy never will get arrested. I don't think anyone has the temerity to arrest that guy. But there he was on national television. I'm going to be arrested Tuesday. And I was like, what? Really? I was like, is that true? Like, I'm in favor of that kind of thing, but I don't think that's going to happen. And of course, Tuesday night rolls by and it's like, oh, Trump lies, man. He's still lying to people. But I did read a report that said that in those 3 days that he was saying that, a number of his supporters donated $1.5 million to his campaign to be his defense fund. 1.5 million. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And what I don't understand is like, okay, all of his supporters laud him for being a billionaire. Like, he's a billionaire. He's a great businessman. He's all this stuff. But why are you giving him money? Like, you are the people. I'm sure the people that are giving him money are the people that need the money the most. Like, if you're a billionaire, you've got a defense fund. You've got lawyers on retainer. You don't need another 1. I mean, I'm sure if I was a billionaire and a group of people were like, hey, we're going to give you 1.5 million, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. No doubt about it. But I'm just like, well, really? The guy's got a billion. Does he need your money? He doesn't need your money. Mom says you get used to it after a few years. Okay. Make sure you eat something heavy. So just a basic shakshuka would not be enough. At least for me, I don't think. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to have to eat the shakshuka with big shakshuka like this. And I'm going to have some sausage with it, which of course is haram. And then I'm going to have a lot of bread to try to like stave off the hunger throughout the day. Like, or maybe I should have a steak and eggs, like a big ribeye with eggs and rice. That might do it. That might do it. But in that Wikipedia entry, I had never thought about it until I read that entry, but I was a little bit relieved to hear that that if you're living in a place like the far north or the far south, like this time of year it'd be the far north, there's fatwas that allow you to like follow the sunrise and sunset of Mecca rather than your local. So if you're like in I guess this time if you're in Antarctica, it's pretty much daylight nonstop. So it'll be like, oh my gosh, no eating. The one thing about the Islam that I've always kind of found interesting, and for me personally, a little bit like difficult, is the washing of the feet, right? Like if you go to the mosque, right? Like if those are enough for me, like if you go to the mosque to pray, you have to bathe, which means that you have to wash your hands, wash your feet, and cleanse yourself before you pray. And it's done everywhere. Like, if you go to the mosque, they have special like fountains where you sit down and you can take off your shoes, you sit down, you turn the water on, you can wash your feet. So it's all very, they set it up that way. But man, big guy like me, man, I hate to take off my shoes, take off my socks, and then get down and like try to wash my feet. That's just so the times that I have prayed at the mosque, there's a part, at least in Saudi Arabia, the ones that I've been to, there are sections where I guess you can go and not like you can't go in the intersection, right, where the devout are praying, but The other ones I've prayed in those outer sections. It's very hard when it's in some. Oh yeah, gosh, when we have like really long days. I guess what you really want is you want to have it around the winter solstice here in North America, so you can be like, okay, it's the shortest day of the year. Yeah, like especially in the middle of summer, you're like, oh my gosh, it's 8:45. Oh please, let's have the sunset. That's what I would be thinking. This time of year is great. Okay, good. Much easier this time of year. And the Islamic calendar also rotates, right? Compared to the Gregorian calendar, it's not in sync. So I've noticed Ramadan at different times of the year. Like when I mentioned earlier that I was in Manila during Eid, and that was actually, I think, in May, the year that I was there, that happened. It was either May or June, and just it ended. And it's like, oh, big holiday. I was like, oh, big holiday. I like big holidays. But I was surprised in the Philippines that there was such a big observance for Eid, because like in the north, where my family's from, and where Manila is located, it's mostly Catholicism, mostly Christians, right? In the Philippines, it's most of the Muslims are concentrated in the southern islands. So it never occurred to me until that moment that, oh, there's a sizable enough population in the Philippines that they would want to have that be a national holiday. So it's the ninth month. So is that correct? Am I understanding this correctly? The Islamic calendar is only 9 months. Is that correct? Let's see what they say here in Wikipedia. The Hijri calendar is known in English as the Muslim calendar and is a lunar calendar. 12 lunar months of 355 days. So it's those 10 or 11 days. That's what causes the shift. So it takes a while for it to swing around the entire year, the entire Gregorian year. So dates in this area usually the H Anohegire in the year of the Hijra. Oh, okay. So current Islamic year is 1444. From 30th of July to 18th of July. Okay. And Mom says Asia has the most Muslim population. Oh, yes, that makes sense. I mean, like my friends from Indonesia, they're definitely all Muslim. And I think Indonesia has 1 billion population too, right? All right, so the cigar is doing well. We're getting towards the end of it. I don't know if it's really just a condition of the cigar or maybe more a condition of my palate. I feel that in this last third, the cigar has not been as dynamic, but more. Maybe it's just that my palate is getting a little bit, like desensitized to the complexity of the cigar. I'm thinking that it's more of that rather than the cigar has necessarily lost something. Mom says, I don't know the exact number, but yes, yeah, I don't know either. but definitely a lot. Those are some of the places I would like to visit for the first time. Indonesia, Malaysia. I'd like to check those places out. Vietnam would be good. Maybe even Cambodia. I spent a lot of time in the Philippines, but not really. And of course, a bit of time in Bangkok, a lot in Japan, a little bit in Korea. I'd like to see more of the region. I'd like to also get more into China. Like one of my friends, he lives in Yunnan. American guy, really interesting guy. Like he's from the South, American South, grew up here, ended up in China, married a Chinese girl, speaks fluent Chinese, but he's very open. Like he was the guy when I first once started going to Saudi Arabia. He was the one that really was my contact. They brought me out there, and I was like, got to meet everyone. And he was one that was like, kind of introducing me more to Islam, right? He was one telling me about like, oh, this is kind of how they think, which is very different than how we're taught in America. And I was like, oh, really? And he was the one that was also very much like, let's go and pray at the mosque. And I was like, oh, all right, I'll go do that. But he's out there in Yunnan. I would definitely like to visit that area. Like Shanghai, Beijing, those are nice areas too. But I think Yunnan seems the food is really good. They grow coffee there too. One of my favorite YouTubers is based there. That girl, what's her name? Denshi Shoga. She's based there. She's this girl that makes these videos about living in the mountains of China, and she harvests her own food and lives this very country life. Really interesting channel. And especially during the pandemic, I used to watch her a lot. Like I was like, oh, she's just living this tranquil life. I was like, I need to have that tranquil life. But evidently, she had moved from her hometown in Yunnan. I think she went to Shanghai to become a police officer. And then after a few years, she was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So she went back to her town, started doing YouTube, and she's got she must have 8-9 million followers by this point. But really, really a cool channel. A young man says, is she the one with the huge dog? Yes, the big old white dog. What's the dog's name? The dog's name is, man, I used to know this really well. But yes, the big dog. Like you could ride the dog. That dog is so big. For a brief moment, I thought to myself, I'd like to have that dog. But that would be too much. Yeah, that's a good channel. I do like that. Definitely now that we're getting into this point in the cigar that the heat is starting to build. So let's start looking at our scoring. I think for the flavor, for the last third, I think we're still pretty much at the same 825 for the flavor and 825 for the body. So it's been very consistent through that. So I'll say we're going to have consistency to be excellent. We'll give that a 9. The burn has been very good. Draw has been very good. I'm going to say that's 875. Overall, I'm going to say 8.5. Very good plus. So this is our score for our score ring. All right, let's get our calculator. We've got 8 plus 16.5 plus 16.5 plus 16.5 plus 8.75 plus 9 plus 8.5, which gives us a total of 83.75. I think that's pretty good. Now let's have a look at our actual scoring. $83.75. Drop that down in our rankings, see where it goes. So that gives us the number 6 cigar for the year, $83.75. James Fox Double Nicaragua Lancero still is the number 1 cigar, followed by the Tatuaje Saints and Sinners, number 3. Long Live the King My Style, Jalapeno, the 101 13th Anniversary, and the Freud Super Ego. Oh, it's better than the Freud. That's a little bit surprising. But only 0.75 more than the Freud. Not terrible surprising. Like I did say earlier in the broadcast that, while I think this is a great cigar, I didn't think it was going to surpass the other ones in score, just based on the earlier scores we were giving in the first 2/3. But I would definitely say this is a cigar I would buy again, at least to buy one more to see. Like Tony was asking, is that tropicality of the first time that I had the cigar an anomaly versus, maybe actually being part of the cigar? I wonder. So, I do wonder, are the conditions of the humidors in the 2 different stores contributing to that tropicality, or is it something else? I'm not sure. So what are you guys doing this weekend? Anything going on? Like I said, there's going to be the Amy's coming down to do the Maryland Opera, so that's going to be Sunday at 3 p.m. I'm definitely going to check that out. And then what else is happening? I don't know. Our cold brew coffee has been very good. Bright, juicy, light. A nice accompaniment to this. I was, like I said earlier in the broadcast, I did decide to use this because I thought about how the first cigar of these smoked, that tropicality, and I thought that the kind of fruitiness that's in this cold brew would go well with it. And it has gone well. It's not perhaps the same pairing had it been more tropicality, but it has been very good. I mean, I do want to smoke this as much as I possibly can. And our little tuna can ashtray has done well. Tap that out a little bit. Yeah, John Wick will probably have to wait till Monday. And my fingers are burning. All right, one more puff. I put that down now. There we go. All right, so that's pretty much it for that. The Tatuaje PCA 2022 limited edition with the Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper and Nicaraguan binder fillers. Great cigar. I definitely would recommend that. 83.75 in our scoring. Another good run. Next week, we're going to be back again on Thursday with another round of cigars. I'm not sure what cigar we're going to do on Thursday, but it'll be good. Hopefully. And then, Rusty, by the way, speaking of which, since I have you here for a moment, when are you coming out to Portland? We'll be doing the show in Portland on April 20th, a month from now. And the plan currently is to go to one of the McMenamin's places, which will be 5 o'clock on local time, Portland, which will be 8 o'clock our normal time. So I'd love for you to come join me. And if any of you guys are out there in Portland, love to have you join us as well. I think it'll be a nice time. And yeah, let me know what you think. Let me see this one before we sign off here. The schedule. All right, so schedule next week. We're supposed to do on the 30th, the Drew Estate Freestyle Live 2022. And I've got a giveaway for that one. We got a little gift pack to give away with that. And then on the 20th, and then that moves us into April 6th. The next week after that will be the Aganor Salif La Validacion Grand Torcro. Also, for the April cigars, we will have a gift pack that's available for the for April. So if you want that, let me know or let Raul know. $70 for the cigars. It's going to include the Aganor Salif. It'll also include the La Carême Bellicoso Fino, as well as the La Polina 125th anniversary, and a Caldwell Pepper Cream Soda Robusto. We're going to bounce the La Carême on the La Polina 125th anniversary that's scheduled for April 20th to a different date from when I come back, probably the early part of May. But that's going to be what's coming up. And yeah, so as always, thank you very much for spending another Thursday night with us here on the Thursday Night Hang from 8 to 10 every Thursday night. And coming up this week, on the main channel, I've got a video coming out on Saturday, which is the third installment of Father William. Can we convert Father William into a coffee drinker from tea? So yeah, I'll thank you there, Mom. All right, well, everyone have a great week out there. Hope you have a good weekend. Come join me on Sunday at the show in Pikesville with Amy singing. Should be a really nice time. That lineup looks really great. But until then, have a great one, and see you next time.